Jonathan Hartman, and I'm the strategy manager for Sikorsky Innovations. It's been a few years since I've had an opportunity to be at a trade show like this, and I have to say, it's good to be here in person with all of you. 3 years and a global pandemic ago, my boss at the time, Chris Van Buten, stood on this stage and shared our first public thoughts on the emerging advanced air mobility market, which we encapsulated in the vision video playing behind me. The video was a result of conversations we were having with other mobility industry leaders at the time, including Otis, about what the future of travel could look like. The concept that emerged from those conversations is something we termed choose your destination. The idea was that instead of today, where you have to manually piece together the steps of a multimodal journey yourself, that you could use your personal device as a master key to the transportation system, simply selecting where it is you want to go and letting the back end of the system figure out the best and most efficient way to get you there. In order to achieve this vision, we realized we needed to think a little differently. As an aircraft company, we think about aircraft as the most important piece of a transportation system. But in this case, while the aircraft is important, it's not the only piece, and maybe not even the most important piece. Instead, what we realized is there needed to be an increased focus on how we integrate all of the future infrastructure of the transportation ecosystem, fixed and mobile, physical and digital. The intent of the vision video was to be a conversation starter, to open ourselves up to other like-minded industry players to come chat with us about how we could solve these challenges together. And over the past few years, we've had some great conversations, not the least of which have been continuing conversations with our colleagues at Otis. As we chatted with Otis, we realized that there was a lot more that we wanted to say than could fit into a 2-minute vision video, which is why I'm pleased to take a few minutes today to share with you some next steps in our vision with the public launch of a document we've entitled Towards a Three-Dimensional Future. Towards a Three-Dimensional Future is meant to be the next level of detail that's on Sikorsky and Otis's shared collaborative vision in this space. As we were putting our thoughts together as to the content for this document, the title really came out from those conversations. I wanted to take a minute to talk about a few important points here. The first is we purposely use the word towards, because this is not a solution, this is not a step-by-step guide as to how we solve the future of advanced air mobility, but it's a continuation of the conversation, an opportunity for us to share some more thoughts, maybe open some more discussion points, ask some more questions, and really continue to invite like-minded industry members to engage with us. The second important piece is the actual subtitle for the document. So we took a focus on operational considerations, because as we all know, there's been a tremendous amount of development in this space over the past few years on air vehicles and aircraft technology for advanced air mobility, with companies going from concept to prototypes to flight test and even certification. But even when we have new certified aircraft in the market, we have as an industry an equally massive challenge as to how do we integrate those new vehicles with existing aircraft, existing infrastructure to deliver value to customers. The third is we're evolving our language a bit from urban air mobility to advanced air mobility. And that's really because advanced air mobility encapsulates what it is we were trying to say in that original vision video. As you saw, at the end of the video, our passenger got into a helicopter and took off. And clear whether her journey was 2 blocks, 2 miles, or 200 miles. And that was purposeful on our part, because no matter the distance, all of those journeys share the same challenge of how to create trust. And that's a term we'll talk about here in a couple minutes. Trust between the system, the users of the system, and the communities in which they operate. The document itself is divided into 4 sections, the first of which sets the foundation for the rest of the content. This first section of the document really gave us an opportunity to just confirm some messaging and some thoughts we had had already, as well as expand on some of our previous thoughts. We wanted to make it crystal clear that we believe that there is going to be a continuing transportation problem in and around cities in the near future. With population growth and congestion increasing, transportation systems are slowing down. And we also wanted to confirm that we still believe that third dimension mobility has the potential to add rapid transport options back into the system. As long as there have been helicopters operating in and around cities, Sikorsky has been involved in that mission, and we see ourselves continuing to be involved in that mission. In terms of expanding our thoughts, though, we wanted to take a moment to recognize that the vision video was very much focused on the passenger transport part of this market, right? Moving people from point A to point B. And while it's important that we deliver value to those customers that are using the system, we also recognize that it's equally important to be able to impact everyone in the community in which these systems operate, no matter if they ever step foot on an aircraft or not. At my desk back in Connecticut, I have a bumper sticker I got at a Heli-Expo many years ago that says, "Above all, helicopters save lives." And it's important to recognize that as we think about mobility of the future, and especially in the third dimension, the ability to use these aircraft to deliver time-critical cargo, whether that's vaccines or organ transplant, whether that's moving first responders around to their destinations more quickly, or whether that's adding resiliency into a system to deal with disasters and disaster recovery, our future transportation systems need to be as multi-mission as our aircraft are today. So the next section of this document gets into the actual vision that we wanted to share. Now, this section walks you through step by step a future customer journey, what we believe is the end state that's required to increase the utilization of the third dimension that all of us in industry are talking about. And now I'm seeing some puzzled faces, so I'll answer the question, which was, Jonathan, you just said that this document was going to give us the next level of detail about the vision. I'm seeing a page up here with like 20 words on it. And that was purposeful on our part. We wanted to layer the content so that readers could engage with the document as much or as little as they wanted. So as you're going to see, each page features 4 or 5 points of interest. You can click on one of the points of interest, which will bring up a focus box with more content, more discussion on that subtopic title. Now, when you're done reading it, you can go back to the main page. You can click on another one of the focus boxes. You can click to the next page, really kind of a choose your adventure in terms of how you engage with the document. We've numbered all of the points of interest to give you a sense of how we would read the document, but that doesn't mean that you have to do so in the same way. Now, this vision section takes you step by step through a customer journey from really the inception, the decision to travel, all the way through to arriving at your destination. And we do so through a series of vignettes that focus on the interfaces between the different parts of the transportation ecosystem. And I want to point out here that I mentioned that this journey is really about the future end state that we see. That doesn't preclude interim solutions, demonstrations, things of that nature, but we really wanted to show you what we thought the full system would look like. And now, I'm not going to spoil the document for you, nor am I going to keep you here while I explain every page. But I did want to share with you a few key messages we hope you see as you explore this document. The first is really the utilization of existing technology to do more than it does today. So I mentioned your personal device as your master key to the transportation system. We also asked ourselves questions like, why can't an elevator also weigh you and communicate with the aircraft to do real-time weight and balance? It's how can we use existing pieces of the transportation infrastructure to make your journey more seamless and more connected. The second is really this idea that evolved from the choose your destination concept into something that we've called continuous movement. Because what we realized as we were talking more about this with Otis is that future journeys have to reduce the friction to travel. So right now, every interface that you have with the transportation ecosystem, every mode, different mode you take, every building you have to get into, adds complexity, adds opportunities for delay, and adds opportunities to decrease the overall customer experience. So what we explore in the paper is how do we tackle those interfaces head on to make the journey seamless and continuous. The third, and I mentioned we get to it here in a second, is this concept of trust. Trust to me incorporates safety, reliability, convenience, experience, but it's also that intangible human element, right? Trust is hard to measure, hard to achieve, and easy to lose, but absolutely critical if we're going to see increased adoption of this third dimension of mobility. So we explore not only how do the passengers using the system trust that their journey is going to be safe and efficient and convenient, but how do the community in which these systems operate, the people who inhabit the buildings that you could be flying in and out of, trust that these new passengers, this new cargo, can be safely and efficiently moved through their daily lives. Now, the third section of the document, once we're done with the journey, takes you through some investments that Sikorsky and Otis are already making in enabling technologies to achieve this vision. For Sikorsky, the most public investment that we have at the moment is in our Matrix optionally piloted vehicle technologies. If you haven't heard of Matrix, Matrix is a vehicle agnostic, systems level intelligence designed to reduce pilot workload and improve safety of operations in cluttered, highly dynamic environments, the types of environments that we're going to find in this advanced air mobility future. In our most recent demonstration, which you see playing behind me, we took a Matrix-enabled Black Hawk helicopter, called our OPV Black Hawk, and we flew a completely uninhabited 30-minute mission. Now, this wasn't a simple follow a GPS waypoint kind of mission. What we did was provide goals to the system and constraints on its operation, and then we let the system determine the best way to execute that mission. Now, while I think fully autonomous aircraft carrying people in highly populated cities is still a few steps away, the demonstration really shows the maturity of our system and its ability to add value no matter how many pilots are in the cockpit. Whether that's 2, in which case the system is a augmentation and workload reduction agent, 1, and in which case the system becomes a virtual co-pilot, or eventually no pilots. And what you'll see here is the system fully executing everything from takeoff to touchdown. In addition to Matrix, Sikorsky has made significant investment in health and usage monitoring systems, as well, and what we would call really data-driven diagnostics and prognostics that we're deploying with our commercial customers every day. We're using that technology to increase fleet availability, decrease downtime, decrease operating costs, pre-position parts, and find problems before they occur. We also recognize the potential importance of electrified powertrains in this system. And by electrified powertrains, and I use that very specifically, I mean a range of solutions from battery electric through hybrid electric to fuel cells and even beyond, to solve some of the fundamental new challenges that these missions pose to us. As our president mentioned this morning, Sikorsky is investing in those technologies. We were one of the first to quantify the benefits of electric propulsion for VTOL, and we look forward to continuing to do so. The last section of the document wraps up the journey that you've been on and presents a few takeaways that we hope to have conversations not just within this industry, but even cross-industry. The first is the need for additional infrastructure to achieve this vision. And I know at HAI we've been having conversations about vertiports and heliports, but it's not just the landing infrastructure, it's how do we connect some of this landing infrastructure with current public use spaces. In order to achieve the vision of advanced air mobility, we need lots of landing and departure points. And that means tying into existing infrastructure, which right now is not designed for people to access some of the spaces that we might want to use. I remember I did a demonstration in LA a couple years ago, and I was utilizing a building with a heliport on top of it. And in order to access the heliport, it required me to go up 2 different elevators, into a private office, into a conference room in the private office, behind a whiteboard, up a maintenance flight of stairs, to a roof, to another set of staircases in order to access the departure point. We need to make that more seamless for future travelers, and that's something we need to tackle together. The second is cybersecurity. For this vision to happen, it can't be that one system is just talking to itself. All the systems, whether that's subways, trains, taxis, aircraft, buildings, have to be connected and sharing data with one another. That presents a huge challenge of how do we verify that data, how do those systems trust that data, and how do we make sure that data is being updated in a way that leads to the seamless travel experience. And the third is a continued focus on safety and reliability. You'll hear it from us. Sikorsky's mission is to provide flight solutions that bring people home everywhere, every time. And we need to focus not only on the safety and reliability of the pieces of the transportation system, but also those interfaces that connect them together. So this document is available on our website, which is lockheedmartin.com/urban air mobility. It's also available on Otis's innovation site. And again, this is the next step in the conversation from us. We look forward to sharing more with you soon. And thank you for taking the time to come in and listen to this. Thank you very much.